Good evening, everybody. As we begin this meeting, I'll ask everyone to please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices and remind council that our procedure bylaw prescribes the use of technology during council meetings. And before we get going, I will ask that everyone present take a moment of silence. Last Monday, OPP Sergeant Brendan Malcolm died on Highway 401 in Coburg in the line of duty. Sergeant Malcolm worked out of the Brighton office and could often be seen patrolling and conducting traffic enforcement on his motorcycle. He was also seen frequently helping out at festivals and parades here in the community. Sergeant Malcolm's funeral is being called a private service, but will be available for viewing on the OPP's YouTube channel. That's on Wednesday at 10:30. Flags will remain at half staff across Brighton until after his funeral service on Wednesday. And with that, I'll ask everyone to take a moment. Thank you. It is 6:33 p.m. I'll call this council meeting to order. The Municipality of Brighton Council respectfully acknowledges that we're meeting on the shared treaty and traditional territories of the Mississauga, also known as the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and the Williams Treaties First Nations. The lands and waters that make up our municipality have been and continue to be the collective responsibility of these Indigenous communities who have been their stewards and caretakers for generations. We recognize that this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across the region and Canada. We honor their enduring connection to this land and their significant contributions to its history and culture. As we gather to make important decisions for our community, let us also reflect on our shared responsibility to foster relationships built on mutual respect and understanding, and to work together towards creating a more just and equitable society for all. And I have a motion to amend the agenda moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that Council amend the May 4th, 2026 Council agenda to allow the notice of motion 11.1 to be introduced and voted on at this meeting. I believe that needs a 2/3 majority vote to pass. Is there any discussion on the motion? You can discuss the amendment, but you can't discuss the subject matter. Go ahead.
And just to explain, it's more basically over timelines. That's the reason for this, right? Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council approve the May 4th, 2026 Council agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest, and if so, please state the general nature thereof. And there are none noted. Are there any announcements this evening? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody who is driving north or south in Brighton today probably noticed some changes in traffic patterns as the great work has begun. Very exciting to see. We've been, in some cases, waiting for a while for this project, and I'm very excited for it. I just want to remind everyone who's taking side streets that normal traffic rules do apply. Please don't be passing transport trucks on residential streets.
Thank you for that. Any other announcements? Councillor Rowley?
You Mayor, and basically just a question regarding what you spoke about earlier. Is the book of condolences still available at the OPP office?
I believe it is in Brighton and in Coburg.
Okay, thank you.
There are two books of condolences, both at both detachment offices.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other announcements? I have a few. Today is often called Star Wars Day as it's May the 4th. However, today is also International Firefighters Day. So, Chief, on behalf of Council, thank you for all that you and your team does for Brighton. And I hope that you'll carry this message back that Council very much appreciates the work our duty-bound and mighty volunteer firefighter team does for us in this community. It's appreciated very much. A couple of weeks ago, we held our Community Service Excellence Awards, and I'd like to extend my thanks to all the nominees and everyone who nominated them, and the two recognized for their work with Proctor House, Anna and Doreen again. We also held our first sports and recreation showcase at the arena at the end of April, and I wish to extend my thanks to Bill and Vicky and the Parks and Recreation team for their hard work bringing that together. It was a good event. There was a constant churn of folks in there while I was there, and I hope it's something we can grow on and continue to do. Last Tuesday, I helped with Sunny Days at the Smile Cookies. I was asked this evening just before we started how many Smile Cookies I ate, and I confessed to the councillor how many, but I will not confess into the microphone. It was a fun time with my Sunny Days friends, and the money certainly goes to a good cause with hardworking volunteers in the community. And finally, last Thursday, I had the privilege of attending the Codrington Spaghetti Dinner, which is a big fundraiser for that team of also dedicated Brighton volunteers in North Brighton. So lots going on in our little community. Are there any other? Go ahead, Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just because you brought up the date, and tomorrow being May 5th, the flag of the Netherlands will be flying, although at half staff, which is absolutely fine with me, but also in recognition of 81 years of liberation.
Thank you for that. That's something we do every year on May 5th here in the municipality, so appreciate that. Any other announcements? Councillor Wright.
There we go. Just an announcement about, I got to attend the library with the Brighton Todd group to choose all of the winning banners. So there was a lot of artwork spread across the floor. So hard to choose from. So many different colorful representations of this year's theme, which was volunteering, which is super important to instill in our kids the importance of volunteering. As we know, we are very short on volunteers in many ways. So we're teaching them while they're young.
As we should. Well done. Thank you. Anyone else? Right. That brings us to the adoption of the minutes moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that Council adopt the April 20th, 2026 Council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion is carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. That brings us to delegations and presentations. Council will hear one presentation this evening. Presenters have 15 minutes to provide council with their information. It is noted that language, content, and conduct must always remain respectful. Council will be provided with an opportunity to ask questions of clarification from the presentation representative based on the information that they have presented. Council is reminded that this is not an opportunity to engage in debate with the presenter, nor advance a public policy position. Presenters are reminded that council does not make decisions during the presentation portion of this evening's meeting. So our presenter is Doug Stevenson from the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board. We're all quite familiar with Doug, but I'm sure he'll entertain us for his full 15 minutes.
And with appropriate conduct, no less. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to see a lot of folks right after that big branding announcement. I guess I'll be doing a point for slide exchanges. Does that make sense? So we'll go right to the next one. And here we got old content on this slide already, but forgive me because Candace had me bring my presentation to her last week before the branding announcement. So of course, the regional partnership, I always want to make sure and highlight, and I look forward to working in the new brand to this slide with my other presentations to other councils. Of course, our board of directors guides us, governs us. Emily is here sitting on that board on your behalf. Making sure we make all the right decisions with Brighton in mind. Yeah, next. Here's the team right here. The board guides and governs. The team does the work. Garrett Harvey's with me tonight, our newest on the team. And, you know I've talked about this before. I get to come make the presentations or the dog and pony shows, right? But these folks are doing a lot of work on your behalf. It's not just me, even though I'm the one standing at the microphone. And whenever I got our team slide up, I always got to shout your team as well. And we work very closely with Ben and his team. And I think I mentioned this last year, but I'll underscore it again. Council's support to build that team out from a staffing perspective has really paid dividends, because there's probably not a week that goes by where we don't need to know something from Ben and his team, and having more people doing that work helps us out. And I see the results that are happening from that team. So yeah, keep going. Thank you. Here's what we worked on through the year. 55 marketing and management tactics. Some of the stuff you see on a weekly basis, some of the stuff you never see, because it's not for you. It's for other people who we're trying to bring here. Next one. I'm just quickly just showing you how we map it out. We can go right through these, you know, the team sits down and we figure out the schedule and we get to work. From a funding perspective, the past fiscal year, we were looking at about $1 million. Brighton funding, of course, as you know, per capita, but also the introduction of your municipal accommodation tax, which is starting to build out your funding portfolio, which is excellent. So all total, over $22,000, 2% of our total funding from the municipality of Brighton. So what do we use that for? Well, this is what we worked on last year. And I'm not going to go down through all these bullets, but if you have a minute, you can take a look at some of them. This is a highlight reel, and I hope it shows you that we're putting your money to good work. But in case you didn't think so, I'll tell you. Return on marketing investment. Do you know estimated overnight tourism spending in this year or in this region now around $470 million? When I started with Bay of Quinte in 2013, we were in the high twos, maybe coming close to the 300 million mark. So to be almost at $500 million in tourism spending is a big deal. And, you know, when you hear Ben at the recent Brighton Business Breakfast talk about Presqu'île Provincial Park getting 500,000 visitors in the course of the year, you get a sense of the level of tourism that's happening just in this community alone. Estimated spending generated by our Bay of Quinte marketing projects and campaigns. So our marketing campaigns, which I'll speak about in a minute, things like our overnight golf packages, our new film office generating almost $8 million in spending for this region. And then in terms of direct investment right into Brighton, we put 70% of that total MAT tax funding that we got from you right back into this community, to your organization's events and to other activities. So what now? This hasn't always been the case, but this region was the leader in overnight occupancy in the year 2025 for Southeastern Ontario. It's 2.6% growth over the previous year, which is awesome growth to see. It's higher than the Southeastern Ontario average. It's higher than our competition over in Kingston. And I still include 2019 numbers because I get asked that question pretty often. So 4.1% higher than 2019 numbers. And what does that mean? What does that 2.6% growth over the previous year mean? $3.6 million in additional spending in this region just from that 2.6% growth. Of course, here in Brighton, the majority of the overnight occupancy comes from short-term accommodations or vacation rentals. So it's great also to see your occupancy rate going up almost 13% in the past year. Length of stay at 3 days. That's really strong. You really want to see that up over 2 days when you can. And it's here in Brighton, which is awesome growth. So what are we doing to try and drive this growth? Well, it's campaign driven. And we try to have different types of campaigns on throughout the different parts of the year. We have our always on campaign. It's literally just always marketing this region. But we also target specifically overnight travelers with campaigns, day trip campaigns. We do local campaigns and specialized campaigns. So I'll talk just a little bit about that. For example, our winter overnight travel incentive campaign, we literally try and get people here by giving them free gas cards. You stay 2 nights, so more than one night, we'll give you $50 to pay for your gas to get here. You stay more than, we'll give you $100. And so that's generating great spending through the course of the winter. And we pair that in the winter with what we call our day trip campaign. So that's spending spree. Again, our guy Garrett right here is ripping videos for each of our communities. You see right here, here's the Brighton spending spree video, over 18,000 views. So what we're trying to do is target communities that are within a day trip, Peterborough, Cobourg, Port Hope, Prince Edward County, Kingston, to drive them to this region, especially in those winter months when we know the businesses need it. From a local point of view, because we got to be supporting our locals as well, we've got Best of the Bay, and we expanded Best of the Bay this year. It used to always be regional, but we found that the smaller communities like Brighton, Napanee, Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte didn't see as many winners, because in some respects, it depends on the voters in your community. People in Belleville, voters in Belleville. So this year, we made it community specific. So now, over 50 categories to vote on. In Brighton, for example, more than 60 winning locations. So I hope as you walk around, you'll begin to see some of these stickers in the windows from the winning locations. And then when we talk about specialized campaigns, the top specialized campaign that we're driving is really that golf package. And I know I've talked about that here before at council. We are a top destination, if not the top destination right now for golf in this province. We're outselling other golf destinations who are part of a provincial partnership 2-1. So over 2,200 rounds sold last year, over 800 hotel room nights booked. Getting up to $750,000 in economic spending just from golf. And of course, Timber Ridge is a really big part of this program. And they're actually the fastest growing golf package course in this group of courses for the region. So that's exciting for Brighton. And here's just an ad that we did with Score Golf last year. We came out and we just said, we are Ontario's best golf destination. We're continuing to run that through the course of this year as well. But we're not just doing campaigns, we're talking to people every day as well. We're doing that through our digital media channels. So we're now talking to a following every week of over 83,000. We're 4.5 million impressions across our Bay of Quinte digital channels. And we're really driving that with video. Part of the reason to bring Garrett on staff is because he comes from a television and film background. So we're able to create more produced video that's going to have a high impact. And for anybody who's in the marketing game right now, they know that video is having the highest impact of any medium out there. Reels surpassed everything in 2025 as the most popular thing to be consumed by people on social media. So you see, we made 34 videos, had almost 2.5 million video views, 21,000 plus engagements, over 41 days of watch time. You're going to sit down and spend a month watching Bay of Quinte videos. But those are great metrics to be able to show and to be able to prove that people are consuming our video at a high rate. Video supports as well. There's the mayor right there. We're not just doing our own video and using it to drive marketing. We're also here as a support team. So some of you may know Garrett was the person behind the recent brand launch video. So that's something where we feel we can add value to a partnership. Where saving you money not just helps you out, but helps strengthen this partnership as well. And we're happy to play that role. He also picked up a lot of Applefest content that I know he's provided to Caroline and the team to use at any time. And other video content through some experiences that are being developed through what Trevor's doing to be able to share with those stakeholders as well. Digital media outside of video on a weekly basis, telling Brighton stories. Doing it on the website as well. So trying to go into longer form content for people that do actually read. And there are some people out there that actually read. But it can't just be us telling the stories. We got to hire other people to come out and tell the story as well. People know we're biased. And so Anna, through the course of the year, works with 6 to 10 travel media professionals who come in, tour the region, She sets up itineraries for them, and then they write about this great place on their mediums. Of course, our discovery guide, which I hope everybody's seen by now, new one has just gone to print and will be here in a matter of weeks. And for anybody who does say print is dead, we print 30,000 of these and they disappear every single year. And we've made a new partnership with the Globe and Mail. So last year, 6,000 of these went in as inserts. I think Trevor just made a deal this week for 9,000 to go out this year. So getting in front of readers. And this is our newest project. I talked about it last year, workinquinte.ca. So it's a job site. We say it's like Indeed, but local. And until Indeed comes knocking at our door, we're going to keep using that tagline because that's what it is. It's a job site, but it has no spam on there. A real guy, this guy right here, he's not just into video production, folks. He's also managing workinquinte.ca. So when your employers are signing up on this site, he's actually helping them to sign up on this site. If a job seeker from Brighton's having issues with the site, this is the guy they're actually talking to. So it's still a young website. There's still young social media accounts. There's still a young newsletter, but the metrics are growing in the right direction. Over 500,000 website events for workinquinte.ca. That's awesome growth for us just a couple of years in. To see the digital network grow by 63%, again, even though it's pretty young, is really great growth as well and shows the engagement we're seeing on this platform. So what are we doing now? We're also working with Ben and his team on a new partnership for the career fair, which, by the way, was really well attended. Great work by the team. And now we're able to support that through marketing on the workinquinte.ca channels. And we also were able to support the team with a digital check-in process through the website. Telling stories the same way we do through bayofquinte.ca, but in this respect, we're trying to help local employers. So even the municipality is on workinquinte.ca posting jobs, but also your stakeholders and your employers in this region, and we're trying to help them out. We're also trying to tell their stories. Who are some of the major employers in this region? What can we tell this community about them? As I begin to close, just want to talk about a new program that we started this year. We wanted to recognize younger people who are making a difference in this community. And so we started the first ever Bay of Quinte 40 under 40. Over 200 nominations. Some winners are in this room. And we're recognized, multiple Brighton winners. And this is something that's also going to become a community development project. So very soon, before the summertime breaks open, we're going to get these folks in a room and we're going to put them to work and try and have them take on community challenges that the residents outline. Because we feel like these people are going to be awesome minds to put to work. And the plan later this year is 40 over 40. So we're going to recognize 40 people over 40 across this region and ultimately put the two groups together to problem solve and also to mentor. Before I go, it's always nice to be recognized. Working Quinte, through the work we've done on the Working Quinte Career Fair, won an EDCO award a couple of months ago. Our own Trevor Norris was Ontario's Tourism Champion of the Year in 2025 for all the work he's been doing across different projects. And we even picked up an award from the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario for best photography in the province. But at the end of the day, awards are nice, but it's really about trying to put your funding to work, make the most out of this partnership, and try and make this region the best region in the province. And so that's what we like to try and do. And now I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Questions from members of council? Councilor Wheeldon.
More a comment. I just wanted to note that I was out and about today and saw a Quinte transit bus wrapped with workinquinte.ca promotion, and it caught my attention. So
Excellent.
Glad that's working.
Doing the work.
I just want to go back to your, we don't have to physically go back to it. Go back to your slide on the cost that provides Brighton. It's $18,767 and you had the words per capita there. That's the total per capita funding. It's not $19,000 per capita.
Oh, exactly.
No.
Yes. Yeah. No, but that would be nice if you want to broker that deal.
That is $150 per person.
Yeah,
That's my
55.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And if we go back, which we're not going to do physically, but we go back to the team, the picture of the team, there was like a team member there.
Yeah, Patrick.
But not listed. Not listed on as Patrick.
It doesn't have an official title.
I need to work on that, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
that's a good point. Very good point.
Don't put him in the picture. All right, any questions from members of council? Councilor Rowley.
Just another comment as well, Doug. Yeah, $1.50 per person here in Brighton. What value we get for our money. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for that, and thank you for being our representative on that board, Councilor Rowley. It's good work. Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. I'm a champion of the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board, as you know, and I thank you for the service you do for Brighton and the whole region. It is a regional effort. We know that to be true, and we appreciate the benefit of being part of that partnership.
We appreciate the support. Thank you so much.
I have a motion moved by Councilor Boutwell, seconded by Councilor Wheeldon, that council receive the presentation from Doug Stevenson, Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Brings us to citizens' comments, Madam Clerk. Any citizens' comments? Thank you. Brings us into staff reports. The first report is with regard to a tourism booth opportunity. Manager Hagerman, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Mayor Ostrander.
I have a motion moved by Councilor Wheeldon, seconded by Councilor Boutwell, that council authorize staff to begin the process of staffing, maintaining, and implementing a business plan to reopen the tourism booth along Presqu'île Parkway that was previously operated by the Chamber of Commerce, and authorize staff to transfer $12,000 from the contingency reserve to operate the booth for the 2026 summer season. Is there any discussion? Councilor McCausland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to Manager Hagerman. I think this is a great idea. I often drive by that and think what we could do with that booth. I know that you're going to begin the process of staffing. I was just wondering if we're going to look for someone who's bilingual, since there's a lot of flow in town with the French speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Hagerman.
Through you, your worship, to Councillor McCausland, the rest of the council. It's a great suggestion. I think if we can find somebody that's bilingual and fits all the other boxes of meeting the requirements to get this role, we'll definitely give that strong consideration. Quebec is one of our major draws to Presqu'île Park for sure. Visitors from Quebec, sorry. If we can't find that fit, hopefully it's somebody that can at least make a little bit of sense of the French language and at least be able to serve those visitors. But quite at the hiring phase yet, but that's a very strong suggestion that we'll take into account.
Thank you both. Councilor Boutwell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and to Mr. Hagerman. This $12,000, does that include both the staffing and the repairs that'll be required to the booth?
Mr. Hagerman.
Yes, through the mayor to Councillor Boutwell and the rest of council, that's for everything. That's for staffing, wages, and anything we need to do to make that structure a little bit better. I'd like to do some external, add the new brand somewhere externally where it's where it's visualized and people know exactly what it is. So that's going to encompass everything we need to do for sure.
As a follow-up.
Yes, as a follow-up, thank you. Manager Hagerman, so for the wages, are we looking at an 8-week summer student position at a certain wage, or if you could elaborate just a little bit? I'm just wondering what kind of position it's going to be.
Mr. Hagerman.
Sure. Yep, through your worship, the rest of council. Yes, we'd be looking for a summer student. position, part-time role, exact structure per hour wage will fall into the line of, into the same regard as what all the rest of the students are making that I believe just started today, at least Jenna did. So we feel that this ask or this number should be able to cover everything we need to do from a staffing standpoint and an operational standpoint.
Thank you both. As a follow-up?
Yep, just another follow-up. Again, thank you, Mr. Hagerman. The sorry, it went in 1 year. What did you say? Is it?
So the plan would be a part-time summer student. I can elaborate even more. We've kind of ballparked a 25-hour per week probably schedule. Kind of Thursday to Sunday is what we're looking at. And then gauging the stat holidays accordingly so that there's somebody there for the stats as well. And if it looks like we're maybe losing some momentum and Wednesdays are busy or Mondays are busy on the weekends, then maybe we need to look at that as the summer moves along. But it's kind of a 25-hour a week setup is what we're looking at.
I
Another
remember,
follow-up? Go ahead.
I know, I remember what my question was. So is this going to be a part-time summer student position under the economic development department, or is it going to be a part student assigned to economic? I'm just wondering how the budget's going to flow there.
Mr. Hagerman?
Yep, through the mayor to Councillor Butwell. Yes, it will be through my department.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you both. Councillor Wright?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, while I deeply wish that the chamber would have received support at the time to continue, I am very glad to see that this booth is going to move forward in the capacity that the chamber had wanted. I'm very excited to see that come back to life.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion is carried. Next report is with regard to the 2025 Audit Planning Report, Baker Tilly KDN LLP. The report was prepared by Treasurer Creamer, who is not with us this evening. CAO Arthurs, do you have anything to add or highlight on this staff report?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to note, normally this report will come at time of presentation, and it wasn't presented to council at this time, so it's just the planning report that followed the presentation from the auditors.
Thank you for that. I have a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the 2025 Audit Planning Report prepared by Baker Tilly KDN LLP for information, and that the mayor and deputy mayor provide their acknowledgement signatures as requested by the external auditor. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is with regard to Beaver Dam Management. Director Lennon, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing further to add at this point.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council received the staff report outlining Beaver and Beaver Dam Management within the municipality. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is with regard to restricted acts period lame duck during the 2026 municipal election. Deputy Clerk, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Nothing further at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that council receive staff report CLK 2026-52 for information. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, the motion is carried. Next report is with regard to the Rural Advisory Committee recommendation for town hall meetings. Madam Clerk, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Thank you, Mayor, but not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, Seconded by Council Rowley, that council receive staff report CLK 2026-54 regarding the feasibility of hosting a town hall meeting for information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Butwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I suppose to our clerk, Mr. Doral. We have this report in front of us that asks us to receive it as information, but we're not actually discussing whether we're hosting a town hall. Is that what I'm understanding from this?
Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mayor, Councillor Butwell. It's for information, but council can direct how they would like to proceed. I didn't put that in the resolution, but the council can always change it and direct how they want to proceed with a town hall meeting or not. It's up to them.
The recommendation is to not proceed with one,
Okay.
so we would just receive the
Right.
report for information unless we choose to provide different direction.
So within the report was a section on if council chooses to go ahead with it, certain things should be done. So I think that we actually should discuss moving ahead with the town hall meeting, for our rural folks. But we didn't get that option necessarily. We just got the option to receive for information.
Nope, that's just what the motion says. Now we discuss the whole staff report.
Okay, sounded like we were just going to receive it for information and move along.
If that's how we voted, that's what would happen, but here we are having a conversation
Okay.
about it.
So I would like us to then have that conversation about how important our rural community is and them feeling heard. We've spoken a lot in the last week specifically about the blending into one municipality of the township and the town. We're at our 20 years, 25 years?
It was 2001,
2001,
January 1st, 2001.
That's what I thought, 25 years. I sit on the Rural Advisory Committee. I know that the committee has developed a bit of a reputation for being very complaint specific, but there's definite value in speaking to our rural community, and it is our only committee that kind of specifically invites in that particular part of our population, which surrounds the entire downtown core. So I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say on this.
Go ahead, Councillor Wheeldon.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I love town halls in spirit, but the report points out a lot of the practicalities that make them often problematic. And I know that I have witnessed town hall meetings in other municipalities and witnessed at some of those town hall meetings why we don't do them more here. And so I 100% get the content of this report in terms of has a somewhat of a cautionary tone, which I appreciate. And I am also reminded that all residents are always welcome to participate in our meetings here. And I sometimes joke that we made politics boring again, and we don't have as many people in the chambers as there used to be. But we do provide opportunity to hear from residents regularly. Again, this evening, there were no citizens' comments. And so I appreciate the perspective that we need to go to where residents are. And I know I have one of my friends is a councillor in Port Hope who does regular rural town halls, but she does so with one other councillor. There's not a quorum of council present, and it very much is informational and a discussion oriented, and not so much all of council going into the rural area to hear complaints or concerns. And so that is a very significant qualitative difference, I think. If we were to go ahead with any kind of town hall, as is noted here in the report, it would need to, I think it would be best for it to be defined as being not a meeting of council and not a meeting where we are going to respond directly to resident concerns, but rather to go and listen, build connections, things like that. I think there's value in that. I'm also conscious of the timing, this being an election year, having town halls in rural areas is both an apropos time, but also a time when people might question if we are taking advantage of municipal resources to connect with rural residents, as we are not supposed to do. So conscious of that perception as well.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a similar thought about it being an election year, and thought that at the very least we could make a recommendation to do some sort of town hall for the new council. For just that reason. When I read this today, it just makes me think one of the most frustrating aspects I've found of the last 4 years is the rolling back of rights and abilities of everybody to speak up and speak out and be heard. Just because something is hard doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. I'm probably more in favor of there being a town hall where the rural residents can come and ask questions, point out things that they would like to see or need to have done. And one of the other memories that kind of came up as I was reading this was the meeting that we held at the community center over the Gosport development, and there was concern that of how that could go, and it ended up being a very respectful meeting. Everybody was very well behaved. So I think we have every reason to expect that the rural community would do the same. And if it's put out there as an informational purpose, we clarify things going on, like if it's something that needs to be brought up provincially rather than municipally, we clarify things as we go on, or, promise to get the answers to the things that we don't know. I think it's about how everything is framed and managing the expectations going into it. But I do think that the ability for the rural community to have a space to come and communicate some of these things would be very, very good.
Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to speak a little bit more historically, and you would probably know what I'm thinking as well. And I don't believe that we've really done it in this term of council, but in previous terms of council, we've even held council meetings in the rural area, specifically Codrington. And I should say there's no more people attending those meetings than there are here in town. So I don't see it making that big a difference. I mean, we're all accessible to all of them. I know, having sat on the Rural Advisory Committee for a couple of years as well, any concerns can always land on the council table, regardless of whether we have a town hall or not. So I'm not so sure that there's a whole lot of benefit to that. Staying in touch with all of our friends outside of the urban area is probably just as easy as trying to organize something like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Mr. Wielden's comments about, they can be useful, but you're caution away from them. You specifically speak to them as a means of engaging positively on your website. So I would just say, although you say you're aware of the dangers and you're not really in favor of it, you actually say the opposite thing online. I was not going to bring this up, but I figure I might as well throw everything at the wall. Might as well. So we just went through a rebranding. We have a really lovely new logo. It's a really nice logo. I like how it represents the different areas and different communities. Nobody in this room produced the video, but there were 20 slides. 15 of them were from downtown Brighton. 5 of them were from Proctor Park. There were 0 from rural Brighton. That is the sentiment, that they are forgotten, that they are glossed over. They're not even included. And so therefore, I would like to see this town hall move forward.
Thank you for that. I'm actually supportive of doing something with regard to a town hall, as long as it's intentional and informational. And it's not just, a Stars Hollow, let's everyone get together. That's what's the reference? Gilmore Girls. Thank you. That's a Gilmore Girls reference. And we all just start fighting over nothing at the end of the day. That's not the intent of this. but to maybe help inform our residents of what the municipality is doing in the rural area, because, you know, the sentiment is we focus all of our efforts on downtown Brighton. That's absolutely not true. We do a ton of work in the rural area, and it goes unseen because, you know, because there's 3 houses on the road we're working on, so only 3 people get to see it. But it's important work and it's good work that the team is doing. So, you know, I agree that it should be for the next term of council. And as long as it's intentional, as long as we are providing information that we can chat about, and it's not just a free-for-all open session, and as long as we're not just doing it in one rural area, but in all the rural areas. So it's got to be Presqu'île, it's got to be Smithfield, it's got to be Hilton and Codrington and Orland. Thank you. I knew there was another. You and I could manage Cankerville together. But yeah, it can't just be at the Cod Hall, and that's what I'm worried, that it'll only be Codrington, when there are a ton of other rural areas and a huge draw for those rural areas as well. So I'm happy to either have this motion withdrawn, Councillor Wright, and we can put another motion on the floor providing direction to staff to bring a report to the future council. You're going to withdraw that? Do we want to provide the report to a future council, or do we want to provide a report to a future council meeting so that we can provide some answers for that future council? Either we get staff to provide a report to a future council, or we get staff to provide us with a report that we then make decisions on for that future council. Go ahead.
So with respect to the Rural Advisory Committee requesting that there's a town hall, the answer from council will be no. Is that how I'm saying? But in future, there is the intention to do a traveling town hall. Is that how I understand it?
The answer to the Rural Advisory Committee is yes, in the future.
In the future. So then it would be great, whatever the motion turns up to be, that there are actual measurable things, like in the next council by the first 6 months or in Q1, because if we're going to, I'll take your.
I'm going to suggest we defer this report to the next council meeting, and that somebody provides a motion to the clerk's office for us to consider at that meeting with regard to direction. Is that fair? Rather than trying to Frankenstein something together tonight.
Like they did in the olden days?
The motion I've drafted reads that council defer the Rural Advisory Town Hall report to the next regular council meeting. Is there a mover? It's moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Butwell. All those in favor? Motion's carried. That brings us to the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update. CAO, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Nothing at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council received the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update. Is there any discussion? Councillor Butwell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Director Linney, I just want to follow up with my question from last time about the agreement for the tennis club.
Director Lennon?
Lennon. No.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I have had a meeting with an executive from the tennis club since the last, or this was raised in council previously, and there's ongoing discussions with them.
Okay, any timeline? End of timeline estimated?
Through the mayor, unfortunately, I don't have a timeline. We have an agreement in their hands and they're reviewing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both. Any other questions on the ongoing report? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. The notice of motion listed was brought forward as a motion by way of an amendment to the agenda, and it's moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Rowley. Whereas the proposed soapbox derby has received support from the Community Events Committee and members of the community. And whereas the event will promote community engagement, youth participation, volunteer involvement, and family-friendly recreation within the municipality of Brighton. And whereas the safe and successful operation of the event requires temporary road closures and municipal staff assistance to ensure public safety and effective event management, with the road closure beginning at the intersection of Crestview Avenue and Kingsley Avenue and the Soapbox Derby route running south to north to the entrance of Proctor Park. Now therefore be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Brighton supports the Soapbox Derby event to be held on August 15th, 2026, including the required temporary road closures and the allocation of associated municipal staff resources necessary to facilitate the event safely and successfully. Is there any discussion? Councillor McCausland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I just kind of wanted to give more information, background information on this. We used to have a soapbox derby within the municipality. The Lions Club used to run it. It is no longer a running event. I participated in the event when I was a young kid, had some great memories. Would love to see it come back, have a lot of kids that are willing to participate and volunteer, and have a lot of other community engagement to kind of bring this back to life. So, any question?
Thank you. Members of council, any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Boutwell.
Through you to Councillor McCausland. I used to participate in these on a street near where I grew up, so I know how much fun it is. How are you going to handle the liability piece?
Councillor McCausland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have sat down with the CAO and Manager Hagerman and their team, and we have talked about the insurance going through the municipality and us having a waiver for families to sign.
Thank you both. Anyone else? Councillor Wright.
I just wanted to say that I'm really excited about this. This is like an easy thing for me to come out and watch, and I'll be very excited to cheer them all on.
Here. Anyone else? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Nothing listed under unfinished business and no bylaws to consider. That brings us to reports, minutes of advisory committees of council and review teams. And listed here are Accessibility Advisory Committee and Councillors Wheeldon and Wright. Anything to report from the February 12th minutes? And Heritage Advisory Committee, Councillor McCausland from February 9th.
No, not from that meeting.
Thank you. The motion is moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the following committee meeting minutes as presented. Accessibility Advisory Committee, February 12th, 2026. Heritage Advisory Committee, February 9th, 2026. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. And the next is a recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Committee, April 13th, 2026. Councillor McCausland, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. There is an attachment with our terms of reference, and we have gone through that the last meeting. The first highlighted portion that you will see is just ongoing partnerships and good work being done that we do with the community. And then the second portion of highlights would be everything that we're looking to remove from our terms of reference. Basically, it's just the Hilton Hall because the municipality already takes care of that, as well as the Girl Guides and Scouts, and the Northumberland Heritage Alliance, removing that because it no longer exists, unfortunately. So those are the two things that we're looking to remove.
Thank you for that. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright, that council receive or support the recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Committee to update its terms of reference as provided. Councillor Rowley, as the mover, are we receiving or supporting?
We're supporting. Sorry, I missed that.
No, not at all. Councillor Wright, are you supportive of supporting? Thank you. I'll ask for discussion before I do. Has staff had an opportunity to take a look at these changes, and do we see any pitfalls here? I'm getting a no, a head shake of a no. We're good.
Through the council, staff are supportive.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And we move into reports and minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. The first is the Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness meeting notes Thursday, April 16th, 2026. Councillor Wheeldon, anything to note here?
Thank you, Mayor. I was not able to attend this particular meeting, but I love that we are looking a little bit further afield and had a guest from Bancroft. Bancroft and Bridgewater projects. So there's a lot of good things happening in small communities. I've also been engaging a little bit with a researcher who's doing a planning PhD and specifically on homelessness and housing in Bancroft. And so she's now attending some of our meetings as well to learn what we're doing in Northumberland. So love to see that cross-regional participation and lots to learn from them. There's a great story here if you read deeper into the notes.
It is an interesting story, that's to be sure. I have a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the April 16th, 2026 Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness meeting notes. Is there any discussion on the motion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. The next is Lower Trent Conservation Board, March 12th. Councillors Wheeldon and Wright. Anything to note? Councillor Wheeldon, Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the thing both of us probably want to highlight is that we have been sent through a letter from the province regarding the amalgamations, and there are now safeguards in place that restrict us from doing just about anything. Hiring, firing, purchasing, selling, all the things. So the amalgamation continues to plod on, but with more guardrails in place.
Thank you for that.
That's basically what I was going to say. It is a lame duck period for all conservation authorities.
And for some time. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council receive the March 12th, 2026 Lower Trent Conservation Board of Directors meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And Brighton Public Library Board. Councillor McCausland, is that you? Yeah. Anything to note there? Motion is moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the March 25th, 2026 Brighton Public Library Board meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And the Curling Club minutes of February 23rd and March 30th. Councillor Rowley, anything to note there? Thank you. It's moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the Brighton and District Curling Club meeting minutes for February 23rd and March 30th, 2026 as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Brings us to correspondence, direction items, endorsements, and petitions. The first comes from the Trenton Memorial Hospital Foundation and their 75th anniversary gala seeking sponsorship. I will note that I have reserved a table. I don't know if I've purchased it yet, but I have reserved a table. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council support the request for sponsorship for the TMHF 75th Anniversary Gala, October 17th at the National Air Force Museum of Canada. And that council approve sponsorship for bronze sponsor $1,500. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I just added support and added the dollar amount. I wasn't sure exactly what we've done previously, but I'm guessing that that's what it is. So that's kind of why I went to that
What
one.
we've done is I've purchased a table and then council has supported in the bronze category.
Yeah,
That's,
okay.
fairly typical of what we've done.
Okay, thank you. Just making sure.
Sure. Anything further on the motion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. And the next item is the Ontario Students Against Impaired Driving with a declaration, a proclamation, pardon me. It's moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council support the proclamation request from the Ontario Students Against Impaired Driving to support said day, Students Against Impaired Driving Day, May 14th, 2026. Whereas impaired and distracted driving remain a leading cause of serious injury and death on Ontario roads, with young people disproportionately affected. And whereas motor vehicle collisions are one of the leading causes of death among youth and young adults in Canada, and alcohol or drug impairment is a significant contributing factor. And whereas Ontario Students Against Impaired Driving empowers students to take leadership in promoting safe and sober choices, fostering awareness and strengthening community commitment to road safety. And whereas said day provides an opportunity for students, schools, families, municipalities, and community partners to unite in promoting prevention, education, and responsible decision-making. Now therefore, Council of the Municipality of Brighton does hereby proclaim May 14th, 2026 as said day, Students Against Impaired Driving Day, in the municipality of Brighton, and encourages all residents to support youth leadership and take part in efforts to prevent impaired and distracted driving and save lives. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. We ask our communications team to get that up on the website or on the socials. Thank you. The next item comes from Northumberland County Resolution to support correspondence from the region of York with regard to Circular Materials Ontario. It's moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council support Northumberland County's motion regarding Circular Materials Ontario, calling on the province of Ontario to ensure fair and consistent blue box recycling services and to establish enforceable province-wide recycling standards. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And from the City of Peterborough, seeking endorsement for a resolution regarding guaranteed basic income. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that council support the City of Peterborough's resolution advocating for a guaranteed basic income and calling on the governments of Ontario and Canada to collaborate on income security initiatives. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been advocating for a basic income, sometimes called a universal basic income, sometimes called a basic income guarantee, sometimes called a guaranteed basic income. Depending on which party is promoting it, the acronym changes. But the reality is it's an idea that's been around for a very long time. And at its heart, it recognizes that the promise of our economic system does not always deliver. And we've talked about this with regard to our housing system recently in a lot of different ways. And the same is true about jobs and income, and the idea that we now have a system where many CEOs make many thousands of times the wage of their workers, that there is widespread and growing inequality, that a lot of economic growth that our economy depends on is largely in things like stocks, which frankly are not real, and the financialization of things like housing, which drives up prices without actually delivering additional value. The idea that wages have been relatively flat for the last number of decades as compared to cost of living, and compared to cost of things like student debt. Educational inflation is a major issue where people have to go to school for longer and take on more and more debt in order to just be eligible for entry-level jobs. Entry-level jobs are now are the first ones to be filled by AI agents. The very relatively small tech sector in terms of employees is by far the driver of the global economy at this point. And so most of the money is concentrated among the fewest people throughout our economy. So with all of those things in mind, the idea of having a basic income below which no one can fall, that is suitable to keep people above the poverty line at a time when we're struggling with homelessness. And the fastest growing percentage of homeless people are seniors. And rural areas are seeing this increase almost more than double the rate of urban areas. We do still depend on money, and it is not being distributed by the system the way that it needs to be in order for us to make sure that our residents are protected and supported. This system has been tried in Ontario. We had a pilot project that was working really well until 2018 when the new provincial government cut it. The studies that were being done at that time were obviously cut short, but they were the reports that came out since then said that it was doing very well. And of course, we've all experienced an unofficial study in the form of CERB, which lifted a lot of people out of poverty for a short period of time. And the Canada Child Benefit has lifted a lot of people out of poverty for a longer time. And so we know that when you give money to low-income people, they spend it on necessities. Ensuring that people are able to buy their necessities, I think, is at the heart of, or along the lines of everything else that we do here, trying to ensure that our residents have everything they need to thrive in our community. So I wholeheartedly support us throwing our voices behind the city of Peterborough, who notably has struggled with economic upheaval in the last few decades as their major sectors have become smaller and their cost of housing shot up. They have experienced poverty and homelessness in ways that most of our communities have not. And so I'm not surprised to see this come from the city of Peterborough, and I'm happy to support their plea.
Thank you. Any other discussion from members of council? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. And then the next is the Brighton EV charging correspondence. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive or refer to staff correspondence from Ted Williams regarding EV charging stations within the municipality of Brighton. Councillor Rowley as the mover. Are we receiving or referring?
I think maybe we could refer to staffs. Or should we just receive? What do you think?
How about this? How about I do this?
Receive and
Watch this. Director Lennon, can you tell us where we're at with EV charging in the municipality of Brighton?
Not very far.
Yes, certainly through you, Mr. Mayor. In my brief time here, we haven't had a lot of discussion, but there was a project to install conduit in the parking lot near Sobeys. The addition of the charging stations was going to be contingent on provincial funding that we did not receive. So that project was paused. There's been no further discussion on public charging stations. Of course, Public Works does have an EV charging station for municipal vehicles, but there's been no further discussion or budget planned for the public EV stations.
Thank you for that. How's that?
Sounds wonderful, but Mr. Williams still needs maybe a reply to his letter.
We could receive it and ask staff to reply.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, just to sort of say, yeah, it's not
That can,
business smart here for
are
Brandon.
there charging stations at any of the gas stations in the municipality? Not even up at the highway, eh? In Colborne? But they're there. Okay, thank you. Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to note that I've had verbal requests for this in Brighton from a few different people over time, who have pointed out that they would plan to come to Brighton, plug in, and then have lunch in the community and do some shopping while they charge. And then they got here and realized that they couldn't do that. And so they moved along.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Councillor McCausland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just kind of out of curiosity, did we not get the money because it was a grant that we got denied?
Yeah, it was a grant application that we did not get the funds for. That's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Wright.
And didn't the price of the EV station itself like
I
explode?
believe skyrocket would be a
Yeah.
good word. Yes. The cost of those EV charging stations was assumed to be much lower than the actual costs we saw come in. So we decided not to go ahead without additional funding from other levels of government. Councillor McCausland does a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there, this might be not the right time to ask, is there another grant that we could apply for, or was it just a one-time?
I think that one was a one-time, but staff are always watching the grants come and go, and the county provides a list of grants on an almost daily basis, I think, of what's being let. And I know that the CAO is on that list, and I'm on that list. And sometimes I say, "Hey, have we looked at this one?" Because I'm paying more attention some mornings than others, and CAO always says, "Yes, we're on it." So we are on it, and we are looking for opportunities to provide that service to the folks who might visit and be in the community. Councillor Butwell.
I think that council as a whole likely supports the idea of EV charging stations, but the absolutely astronomical cost of these units to the tune of over $500,000 with no additional funding available from any other level of government, private enterprise. I saw you looking at the CAO. It makes it far too expensive for us to take on, because I believe that it was something like $200,000 or something for the station, but then by the time we found out we didn't get the grant, it was like $400,000, and so we're further behind. Until there is either an adjustment in the pricing of them or an actual case for return of the investment, not on the investment, just of the investment. I can't see that the people of Brighton are going to want to fund that on their tax bill. I really don't. And until our retail businesses are even open on a Sunday, there's nothing for people to do anyways on a Sunday in town. They could go to,
They can dine.
they can go to a couple of places to eat, but unless you're going to a place that's walkable to, we'll call it Sobeys, then they're probably not even eating here.
Yeah, I guess the good news is we do have the underground infrastructure in place for an opportunity to come along to purchase these if the right grant money comes along.
We have a shovel-ready project.
We do have a shovel-ready project, or if the price of them comes to a more reasonable level. But I think you're absolutely right. I don't think we can justify putting it on the tax base for folks who will help pay for it over time when that time is such a distance with the value of what we get for the charging. Anyway,
Right.
Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. I can't quote numbers, but I have been hearing that the cost is coming down. There was a time there when the province set up some EV charging stations and then found that it wasn't being used as much as they thought, and so they took them down in some places. And of course, now EV adoption is much higher than it was, and they probably have already reinstalled them. We haven't done that, but there are organizations that will set them up, cover all of the capital costs, and just operate them themselves and charge for them. And so that's an option as well. I just did a quick search and found electrifycanada.ca says they pay 100% of upfront capital investment and maintenance and upkeep costs for this infrastructure. So there are options to make it available. I know not everybody wants to pay to plug in, but the reality is that whether they're paying us or paying Electrify Canada or anyone else, I'm not sure that they care so much. But if we don't have the infrastructure at all, then it's just not an option for them.
Thank you for that. Councillor Butwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing I have learned through my many years of public service work outside of this current room, privatization doesn't bring an improvement in service or a reduction in cost. And handing this off to someone else still leaves us the ones who are going to be blamed for when these things go down. And that's not fair to staff.
Councillor Wheeldon.
I generally am not a fan of privatization, but if it's a choice between having nothing at all because we don't want to pay for it, or having something and having someone else pay for it, I would rather have the thing. I'm willing to pay for it.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. And for the most part, the Brighton taxpayer has paid for it because we've set it completely up for them. So we are already investing in this as it is. So I think at this point, it makes more sense that we've put the money in there. We're ready should an opportunity come up that makes business sense for our taxpayers.
Thank you for that. I'm assuming Councillor Rowley is the mover. We are now receiving this correspondence. And that will not spark staff to send a reply. Shall we ask staff to send a reply? You do it even if we just receive it? There you go. Okay. The clerk has advised that a follow-up letter will be sent. So I've circled receive. You okay with that, Deputy Mayor? You okay with that, Ron? Yep. Anything further on the motion? Those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. And on to FYI correspondence. The first comes from Northumberland County. Updates from April 13th to 24th and 27th to May 8th. It's moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council received the updates from Northumberland County for both periods April 13th to 24th and April 27th to May 8th. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. You go ahead.
Just on the note of the National Day of Mourning, I forgot to mention that Councillor Wright and I attended, and Councillor Wright gave a lovely short speech on behalf of Brighton.
Thank you both for that. Thank you, Councillor Wright, for that. The next FYI correspondence comes from the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Proposed Environmental Assessment Act. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Botwell. The Council received the correspondence from the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks regarding the Proposed Environmental Assessment Act amendments to improve the comprehensive environmental assessment EA process. Is there any discussion? Go ahead.
Just a note for folks about what it is that we're looking at. It's a notice from the ministry that Environmental Assessment Act will no longer require the ministry to publish or provide consultation on ministry reviews, and will no longer allow the public to request a hearing with regard to these reviews or environmental assessments at the OLT, and removes the requirement for cabinet approval of a minister's decision. And so it's streamlining, but it's at the expense of public oversight.
Thank you for that. This motion, I'm not sure if I read it. This motion was moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Botwell. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Brings us to the JL Richards and Associates Progress Report number 3. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council receive the Brighton Wastewater Treatment System Upgrades Progress Update number 3 by JL Richards and Associates. Is there any discussion? Councillor Botwell.
Yes, on the report, item 1.2, the project being currently on budget. And I'm sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, to whomever. Because there's no report this winter, Mr. Lennon. It says NEC is still working on breaking down some items in their schedule of values, and in the interim are not billing against them. Do we have any idea of what that dollar figure is? Because it's great to say it's on budget, but if we're not taking in all of the values.
Dr. Lennon.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Botwell. There's a series of additional items in the project that the contractor has either requested a change or they're going to change a product or process that the consultant JL Richards is reviewing. And I'd say there are a number of those, so they're not invoicing for those as those discussions take place. The amounts are nominal, I would say, in my participation in the site meetings at this time.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up? He can't give us a number. We won't know until we know.
No, I understand. I'm wondering if we're talking thousands, tens of thousands, 100,000. I understand nominal, but we're talking about a $50 million project, so nominal is kind of be subjective.
It's all relative. Go ahead.
That's all.
Director Leonard.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Fair question. Yeah, I think at this point, just off the top of my head, we're looking at the tens of thousands at this point. There's no major contract items that are being discussed at this process that isn't already approved or bid, if that answers your question.
Okay. And as a follow-up, and that could be covered by our contingency is that the thought? That contingency would be in place for these types of things? These changes?
That is correct through the mayor. There's a contingency in place for these types of items. Some items actually are cost savings.
Okay.
So that as that works out, there'll be a give and take on the final budget number, but the contingency amount is in place for these types of things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both. Anyone else? All in favor? Motion's carried. That brings us to question period. Is there anyone in the gallery that has a question with anything that appeared on tonight's agenda? And there's no one online for that purpose. We have no closed session, which brings us to our confirmatory bylaw. It's moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton Council meeting held on May 4th, 2026. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion is carried. And finally, a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the May 4th, 2026 council meeting adjourn at 7:51 p.m. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. And as we carry on today, I'll say, may the force be with you all. Created a